It's a new day and a new dawn for Britain as we adjust to our decision to elect Keir Starmer and the Labour Party to make the decisions for us, the British people, and lead Britain into the next era. In 2010, when Britain decided to give the Conservatives a go, albeit propped up by the Liberal Democrats, it was also a very timid time as the government actually got used to power. However, it is worthwhile remembering how they managed to persuade Britain to give them power. But before we get going, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and hit the notification button, and also comment below, let me know what you think.
The big lie told about the way in which Labour had ruined the economy, left us with no money.
Never let them forget that note.
Those claims were dangerous fiction. Dangerous because Osborne and Cameron used them as a narrative to excuse and explain so-called austerity, which was destructive.
We have to make cuts in budgets because we're dealing with a record debt and deficit. They left us.
Now is the moment for Britain to choose its future.
Hi, everyone.
Offending veterans.
On reflection, that was a mistake, and I apologise.
Alienating voters, dodgy betting, and even failing to win over those whose very instinct is to follow. For the Tories, the game was up.
It's not socially distanced.
Downing Street parties and one particular image of a bereaved queen steadfastly sticking to the rules her Prime Minister had broken saw to that.
I want you to know how sad I am to be giving up the best job in the world. But them's the breaks.
I believe in the British people, and I know that brighter days lie ahead.
What's remarkable is the way in which the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, I do like using those words, has rebuilt the trust in the Labour Party. I said, unless things change a great deal, I will not live to see the next Labour government. I have.
If you had one word to explain how you felt during those years of political wilderness, what would it be?
Purgatory.
Frustrated.
Depressing.
Sorry, Mum.
And any advice to the Tories to get back?
Take your time.
Remember that one nation politics was what got you elected and sustained you over those 100 years.
Nothing you could print.
For Keir, time to build trust with the British people who put him in number 10.
A new dawn in what is now Labour's Britain. And this place tells the story of the nation.
I am excited about it. I think something fresh for everybody is about to begin, and that can only be a good thing. Change always brings something positive.
It is always, in the end, very simple. An X in the box and one big statement of intent.
Because of all the performance with the Conservatives, it really was ridiculous. And we just hope that the Labour Party are for the working class and that they can put into place what they've said.
The Conservatives have been kicked out.
Yeah.
What do you make of it?
Sorted.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me about it. Why?
I'm just glad they haven't been in too long. I wanted reform. I didn't even want Labour. I wanted reform to win.
It's been in such a rut, the country, that it's going to take a lot to get out of it. So you kind of just got to go with what's happening and hope for the best, basically.
Labour did win this seat. Reform surged into second. It's a new start, a new government, but the enthusiasm for it all seems somehow to be missing. More than half of the voters in these towns didn't even bother to turn out.
There's no trust in any of them. That was the reason I haven't voted this time. There's no excitement, I don't think, in either of the parties, what anything they had to offer.
Despite the apathy, Labour has redesigned British politics, but there's a lot that needs fixing.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a lot of skill.
And it's who you voted for yesterday?
Yeah.
What do you think needs to happen now? This is a big moment.
I think the government need to listen to what people want. I think it's important now that they build that relationship back with the wider public, because that's been lost, I think. So I think that's the main thing, listening to what we actually want and what we actually need.
This is an election about change.
He reminds me a lot of Clem Attlee, because people said, well, Clem Attlee wasn't charismatic and, you know, we need somebody charismatic. But Clem won because he was trusted.
Very much. Look, the thing that's changed already is the mindset of government. It's a mindset of service, of country first, party second. That's not a slogan. That is the test for all of our decisions. So when submissions come to me from the Cabinet, when I've had to take decisions, which I've already had to, of course, the principle is country first, party second, and that's the driving principle. So that change has already happened.
The first thing he had to do, that he did with an impressive amount of ruthlessness, I have to say, is to change the Labour Party. It was to get rid of that stain of anti-Semitism.
Used to it. I'm very happy to be called Keir or Prime Minister. I do recognise, and I said this to the civil service yesterday, why for them it is important to refer to the office holder as Prime Minister, because they're serving the office. I recognised this when I was Director of Public Prosecutions, and it is actually important to them to use the title, because it reinforces in them what they are doing by way of public service, and I respect that and understand that. I'm perfectly happy to be called Keir, but I do recognise why that happened.
Enormously by the Conservatives, Partygate, Liz Truss, the bundling over the last few years by Rishi Sunak, and also by the SNP, not imploding, but certainly being substantially damaged. So there have been things running in our favour.
The Rwanda scheme was dead and buried before it started. It's never been a deterrent. Look at the numbers that have come over in the first 6 and a bit months of this year. They're record numbers. That is the problem that we are inheriting. It has never acted as a deterrent, almost the opposite, because everybody has worked out, particularly the gangs that run this, that the chance of ever going to Rwanda was so slim, less than 1%, that it was never a deterrent. The chances were of not going and not being processed and staying here, therefore, in paid-for accommodation for a very, very long time. It's had the complete opposite effect. And I'm not prepared to continue with gimmicks that don't act as a deterrent.
If Labour had gone on the attack, bailing out the banks, which meant that people could still use the ATM, and hundreds of thousands of small businesses didn't cease to exist, which would have been the alternative, and literally saved, the world economy. No credit was taken for that, and it should have been.
I didn't vote for Ed. I thought he did a reasonable job, but I don't think he defended what we did in government enough.
Ed, and he knows this is the case, I'm not insulting him, they made two mistakes in my view, and that was, first of all, not exalting the record of the Labour governments. A more ferocious attack on what I used to still call, the big lie, told about the way in which Labour had ruined the economy, left us with no money.
There's no money left was picked on all the time, wasn't it?
That note was left in jest.
Never let them forget that note.
Those claims were dangerous fiction. Dangerous because Osborne and Cameron used them as a narrative to excuse and explain so-called austerity, which was destructive.
We have to make cuts in budgets because we're dealing with a record debt and deficit. They left us.
You're going to one vote to elect your leader and future Prime Minister was not a good move. It just enabled a few highly motivated sort of ultra-left individuals to join as members and then sort of take over the party.
Jeremy Corbyn was absolutely worshipped by a group of people. There's no question about it. He had a sort of, godlike status. There was a sort of cult of Jeremy Corbyn fans. The problem was they were quite a small number of people.
The other thing that we failed to explain was the enormous benefits that had come from both the enlargement of the EU, the single market, free movement, and the populist argument, take back control, You're going to be flooded with people from Turkey, for which there was no immediate prospect that they were going to join the EU, that we'll be able to put more money back into the NHS. Those were simple populist arguments that we couldn't make the proper response to. And then even after Brexit, it took time, I think, for Labour to get over that.
He called his election early, and the rest is history. 14 years of Conservative rule has drawn ignominiously to a close, and one of Britain's great political parties is left to fight for its very existence.
Our Parliament has been renewed. Many dinosaurs have been replaced by progressive MPs. Well, we'll soon get to see if they are progressive. We'll be looking at their voting record. But let's hope this means a new dawn for Britain.